Java server basis data table. At end of this session, you will able to use data tables to retrieve data from the database table and display the data in JSF page using data table tag. To understand about JSF data table, first create a table in MySQL database. Open MySQL Workbench, create a table student with 3 columns, student ID, data type integer, make it as primary key, and name of the student, varchar 45, and CGPA, data type double. Then apply to create a table. It generates a query to create table in the database schema KLU. Then apply and finish. Now the table is created in the name students in the database schema name KLU. So now we will retrieve the data by using the query editor. So this is the table content available in the table. So as of now the table is empty. Now we will insert some records manually to retrieve data from the database table and display those records in the JSF page using JSF data table. Student ID, name of the student, and CGPA. So then apply to insert these inputs permanently into the table student. It generates insert query based on the inputs we entered. Then apply, finish. So again you should execute the query select star from student to ensure the data will be available in the table. Then open Red Hat Code Ready Studio to create a new Maven project and select the architecture type Quick Start version 1.4. Then apply filter Maven archetype Quick Start. Then choose Maven archetype Quick Start version 1.4. Next, provide the details of group ID, artifact ID, and package. I just named the project as JSF-data table. Then click on finish. It creates a directory structure based on the architecture type Quick Start version 1.4. Once the build process is completed, we can explore the directory structure in the project explorer. First step, we need to delete the package which is created by default based on the architecture type Quick Start version 1.4. So right click on the package, then delete. Next, we need to convert this into a dynamic web application. So choose the project root directory, right click, go to the option build path, then configure build path. In this window, choose the option project paysets, then click on convert to paysetted form. Then choose the dynamic web module version 3.1 and change the Java version to 1.8. Enable JavaScript and enable Java Server Pages version 2.2. Then click on further configuration available. Enable the checkbox to generate web.xml file. Next, and ensure the JSF implementation library type disable library configuration. In URL mapping pattern, the star.jsf is not available, then use the add button to create a URL pattern star.jsf in addition to that basis. Next, OK, then click on apply and close. It creates a directory structure based on the project bases we selected. Then open the file form.xml. Upgrade the Maven compiler source from 1.7 to 1.8 and target, and then add dependencies for JSF. We will retrieve data from the database table, so that we need to add dependency for MySQL connector. Open a browser and find out the dependency for JBoss JSF API. So visit the website mvnrepository.com. Search JBoss JSF API. Then choose Java Server Bases 2.2 API and select the latest version. Copy the dependency details and paste it in form.xml file in the tag dependencies. Then find out the dependency for MySQL connector. This is the link where we can find the dependency details for MySQL connector. Click on the link and choose the latest version 8.0.29. Copy the dependency details and paste it in form.xml file under the tag dependencies. Then save the file form.xml, close and update the project. By choosing the project root directory, right click, use the option Maven, update project. Then click OK. Once the project is updated, click on markers to identify the warning errors if any. Then select the warning error, right click, use the option quick fix and select any one of these options. Then finish. The warning error will be resolved. Then we can start implement JSF with the dataTable to retrieve the data from the database table and display those data in JSF page. So then locate the directory src main webapp webinf. Open the file web.xml. Open it in source view. In the welcome file list, first welcome file, by default it has index.html, so change it as index.jsf. Then remove all other welcome file formats from the welcome file list. Then save the file web.xml, then close and create a index.xhtml page in the webapp directory. Then choose the directory webapp, right click, go to option new, then select the xhtml page, enter the file name as index.xhtml. Then finish. It creates a file in the name index.xhtml in the directory webapp. Next, create a Java bin to interact with the index.xhtml page and also with your logic to retrieve data from the database table. So choose the build path src main Java, right click, create a two packages in this. So use the option package and create a package in the name com.model and create one more package in the same location src main Java com.controller. Then finish. Now create two Java class files in the package com.model. So right click the package com.model, go to the option new, then choose class and enter the class name as student. So this is the class which we are going to use as an entity class to map with the table columns in the database table student. Then finish. The class will be created in the name student.java in the package com.model. So in the database table student, there are three columns we created. First column is student ID with data type integer and second name with the data type varchar of 45. and the third CGPA with the data type is double. So we need to create three instance variable, int student ID, and second string name, and third double CGPA. So three instance variables are created. Then save the file student.java. Then generate get and set methods for all these three instance variables. So choose the class file student.java in the package com.model. Right click and use the option source. Then generate getters and setters. So click on the button select all. Then click on generate. It generates the get and set methods for all these three instance variables. Then save the file student.java, close. Then create one more Java file to build a logic on to retrieve data from the database table. So choose the same package com.model, right click, go to the option new, then class, enter the class name as student manager, then finish. So now the file is created in the name studentmanager.java. Here we can write a logic to interact with MySQL database and retrieve data from the table student. So we need to create three instance variable. One is connection URL, database username, and database password. So declare a variable with the data type string. String URL equal to JDBC colon MySQL colon / localhost 3306 is the port number, and the database schema name is KLU. So this is the connection string for MySQL database. Then declare another instance variable DB user and initialize with value root. Root is the default username for MySQL database. Then create another instance variable for database password and initialize with your MySQL database password. So this is an MySQL database password. Next, create object for the interface connection and initialize with value null, and create object for the interface preferred statement, initialize with value null. Then create a method to retrieve data from the database table. And handle the exception. So just I created a method in the name read data and handle the exception by using throws exception. The return type of the method read data is list. So click on, just place cursor on the list, add the package java.util. So click on import list from java.util. Then establish a connection by using the connection object. Initialize the connection object using driver manager dot get connection. So pass three parameters to the method. One is connection URL, and then database username, and the third one database password. Then initialize the preferred statement object. So there is a spelling mistake with the URL. Okay. So then initialize preferred statement object PS equal to connection dot call the method preferred statement. Here we can write a query to retrieve data from the database table. So query to retrieve data from the database table is select star from the table name student which we created in the MySQL database. Then create object for result set and initialize by using the object of preferred statement dot call the method execute query. So this is the statement used to execute a select query, and result of the select query will be assigned to the object rs of result set. Then create object for list. List type is the entity class student, and create object. So L is an object for the list. Initialize with new array list of type student. So this is how we create object for the list class. Then create a loop while condition is rs is an object of result set dot next. So this is the method returns a boolean value. If the object rs has a data, it returns true. If the object rs doesn't have any data, it returns false. If the result set has a data, then the control enters into the loop. There we create object for the entity class student. Student is the entity class, so object is created. Then initialize the instance variable of the student class by using s.set student id value from the object rs dot use the method getInt to retrieve value from column number 1. In database table, the column number 1 is student ID, column number 2 is name, and column number 3 is CGPA. So student ID is declared as integer, student name is declared as varchar, and CGPA is declared as double. So this is the function set student ID to set value for student ID from the object result set. So since the student ID is declared as integer, I am using getInt method to retrieve value from column number 1. So next set value for student name. So call the method s.setName value from the object rs.getString. Retrieve value from column number 2. And set value for CGPA. So s.setCGPA value from the result set object rs.getDouble. Retrieve value from column number 3. Then add the object of entity class student to the list by using add method. So finally close the connection. Then return object L as a result. So now the method is ready to retrieve data from the table. Method name is read data. So it prefers a list based on the data retrieved from the table student, and it returns result as a result from the method read data. So then create a controller in the package com.controller. So we can use Java bin as a controller. It will interact with the logic as well as with the user interface using JSF. So create a class bin class in the package com.controller. Select the package com.controller and go to the option new, then choose class. I just create a class in the name student data, then finish. Now the class is created. This is a plain old Java object class list for the data type student. So then add the package for the class list. Just import list from java.util and the student from the package. Just place cursor on the class student and import student from the package com.model. Then generate getter and set method for the list object. Choose the file name student data from the package com.controller. Then use the option source generate getters and setters, select all, generate. Now the get and set methods are generated for the object list. So then choose the get method to retrieve value from the database table and display the data on the JSF page. In getList method, create a try-catch block. So this is the general syntax for try-catch. The logic to retrieve data from the database is available in the class name studentManager.java in the package com.model. So create object for the class studentManager. So create object for the class studentManager. I named the object as SM. And object is created and initialized. If the package is not yet imported, just place cursor on the class name, then choose the option import student manager from the package com.model. So then assign value for the object list. So list is the object of list class. So list equal to object of student manager class and call the method read data to retrieve value from the database table. The read data method which we implemented in the class student manager to retrieve data and send those data in the form of list. So it returns a list that will be stored in the list object. So if any error occurred during this process, that we can display it in the console by using system.out.println. Use the get message method to display the error message on the console. So finally return a list object as a result. So then the controller is ready to interact with the business logic as well as the JSF page. Then open index.xhtml and create a HTML tag and create head section and place a title tag. So place a title as JSF dataTable demo. Then create a body section. Just add h3 tag and display the header student details. Then create a form tag. Just start typing h:form, then close. You will get an warning error. Just place cursor on the warning error. In that pop-up, you just choose the namespace from java.sun.com JSF HTML. So click on this. It will be added to the HTML tag. Now we can use the JSF tags. So then close the form. In between, I'm going to create a data table. So h:data table is the tag name. So for this, add two attributes. First one is value. Value is the attribute name. So for this, we can use the Java Bean class name. So Java Bean is created student data.java. The bean name we assigned as student data. So we can use this in this place. Use hash symbol, expression language, open brace. It will list out the available Java beans. So as of now, we created only one Java bean. That Java bean name is student data. So choose the Java bean student data dot. There I created object for list class. So choose the object list. And then add one more attribute, variable equal to. Here we can use any name. So just I am using row is a variable name. So the student data.list will return a list collection. Suppose the list collection has 5 records. Each and every record is assigned to the variable row. So from that we can retrieve student ID, student name and CGPA. This will be repeated for 5 times if the student table has 5 records. If the student table has 3 records, then this will be repeated for 3 times. It retrieves 3 records from the list. Next, create a column tag h colon, column is the tag name. So in that I am going to create a table header. To create a table header, open a tag, start typing f colon set, then close the tag. So for this we need to add a namespace. So now you will get a warning error. Just place cursor on that. Add the namespace java.sun.com JSF core. So click on this. The namespace will be added with your HTML tag. Now we can start using the f colon sets to set table headers. So set attribute name equal to header, and the table header is student ID, and close the set tag. Then retrieve value for student ID. So use the expression language as open brace. It will list out the available Java beans. So actual Java bean is student data. So whatever content available in the student data.list, that will be assigned to the variable row. Choose row dot. It will list out all the available field, name, student ID and CGPA. So this is the column we created to display a student ID. So choose student ID. So like this we can create 2 more columns for student name and CGPA. So just copy paste the tag h colon column and set header as student name and value from row dot the instance variable name. Then create another column for CGPA and change the table header as CGPA and retrieve value from the instance variable CGPA. So row dot CGPA. Then save. Now we can deploy and test the result. So before that, we need to add a jar file for MySQL connector. Already we added dependency for MySQL connector that will be added into the Maven dependency MySQL connector Java 8.0.29 that will be available in the location local disk C, open C colon, then users, then choose your Windows username. There you can find the folder .m2, then open repositories, then open MySQL folder, MySQL connector.java. This is the latest version we are using in the form.xml file. We added dependency for MySQL connector version 8.0.29. So open the file folder 8.0.29. There we can find the jar file for MySQL connector. So copy the jar file and paste it in the directory live, which is available in web.inf. So choose the directory live and use the option paste. So now the jar file will be pasted in the directory lib in web.inf directory. So then we can deploy and test the result. So choose the project root directory, go to the option run as server, then finish. Once it is deployed successfully, by default it opens index.xhtml page where we used the data table of JSF to display the records retrieved from the database table student in the table form.